Are you looking to build a workplace where people feel valued, supported, and inspired to grow? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Give River podcast. Each week, we chat with thought leaders, wellness experts, and industry changemakers to explore fresh ideas on workplace well-being, leadership, and professional growth. From emotional intelligence to gamification, peer recognition to personal wellness, we'll bring you fresh insights, practical tips, and real-world success stories you can actually use. Whether you're leading a team or looking for ways to make work more fulfilling, we've got you covered. Subscribe now and start creating a happy, healthy, high-performing team. Welcome to the Ripple Effect, a Give River podcast. Today, I am so honored to have Jamie Getgood joining us all the way from Australia at 3:30 in the morning. And Jamie, I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome.
No, thank you. Absolute pleasure.
Jamie, for the benefit of the audience, can you give us some background on how you became the passionate people leader you are today?
Look, it's actually a very interesting story. So I started my career as a mechanical tradesperson in a manufacturing plant, a company called Electrolux even. And
do they make appliances, right?
They do. They make appliances, they make vacuum cleaners, they do all sorts. So I started as an apprentice and did a trades role, and I won some awards as a tradesperson, and Electrolux saw something in me, so they got me to help run their apprentice training center. And then because of that, the CHRO at the time said, Jamie, I think you need to stop engineering and get into HR. Really unique entry into the world. They paid for my degree. I had one-on-one coaching with this senior leader. And what was really special, and I think this is a big part of who I am today, he was an ex-priest. So I had this one-on-one mentor literally by his side for the first 12 months who showed me a way of handling people that was different to any HR person I've met in my career. Then I throw in the mix, my parents are heavy Christians. My dad was involved in church, and I grew up from a home life viewing people and, the values that people have in themselves and the gifts that they have. So with these two different angles, I came into the HR space with a very much a people-focused lens and understanding the values they bring. And through my career, that's worked really well for me. And I've had opportunities in all of the organizations and notably with General Motors in Australia, where we made a significant impact to everything we did because of that people-focused leadership approach. But that was my entry and how I got that people-focused flavor, I guess.
Okay.
From a context point of view, and this is probably where my real people-focused leadership really kicked in, I became, after a few years of working in the HR space, I became the head of HR for General Motors Manufacturing in Australia. And when I joined the organization, it was not performing. It was a bottom quartile automotive plant. And I'm not surprised. We didn't treat people well. We didn't communicate well. It was a command and control style leadership. And I was brought in to try and help change that. And in my first week, I got verbally abused by a senior leader in front of everyone. He called me some words that I probably shouldn't repeat on a podcast. And it was all because he was yelling about people in our business and saying we should just sack them, and there was no real reason to do that. And I stood there and said, well, maybe it's because of how we lead our people, and that's why he went on a rant at me. But the good news was that was a catalyst for me to go to our head of operations for Australia and say, that behavior has to stop. No wonder we're not performing. And to his credit, he said, you're right. What do we do? And we then went on a journey to change everything we did and knew about leadership in General Motors Australia, or the brand was called Holden. We exited some leaders that were never going to make that people-focused journey. We completely retrained our leaders, not just on leadership skills, but also relational skills and behavioral skills and, the soft skills that we don't teach enough. Simple things like I love this. What a lot of people don't know is when you give someone a handshake, you build more rapport from one handshake than up to 4 hours of continuous interaction.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like I think it was a Swedish study or something like that, but it's really cool. So think about why aren't we shaking people's hands if that's what it does? So I'm then teaching my leaders smile at people. When you smile, release oxytocin to your brain. So you feel good. So why wouldn't
Hmm.
you smile for that reason alone? But we also have mirror neurons in our brain. So when someone smiles, we smile back because we're trying to see if that smile's real. And we're now releasing oxytocin into the other person's brain. So
It's amazing. Look at
it's a
that. Talk
superpower.
about a ripple effect.
Absolutely. So we taught our leaders some of these basic principles, people and relational principles, and how it actually impacts you. And we made them talk to their people every day. I made every leader in our business put 30 minutes, block it out of your calendar every day. I don't care when, but you must block out 30 minutes, and that's your people time. Walk the floor and talk to people, and not about work. I want you to know their wives' names, their dogs' names, their favorite football team. Get to know your people. And this is just 3, 4 examples of 100 things we did that changed the way we led. Now, the cool part, we went from that bottom quartile business. Within 18 months, we were in the top 10 car plants in the world with General Motors. Unfortunately, because of economic factors, not on performance, we had to close manufacturing in Australia. The whole industry closed because the economic factors. But even through a 4-year closure journey, we built a world-class transition program. We took care of our people. We became the number one car plant in the world for quality and almost every other metric in our last year of making cars in Australia. In a closure environment, when everyone says it's going to drop, it didn't. It flourished. So
Wow,
that's what
Jamie, that's amazing.
that's what we can do.
Yeah, just by having a people centric, people focused, we're all humans. Let's just treat each other like the wonderful beings we are just by doing that.
Absolutely. Look, think about it, right? If and I'm preaching to the converted, but when I'm coaching my leaders to have those 30-minute conversations every day, and you're talking to someone and you understand that, wow, this person actually plays with computers at home and they love data. I've got a project that I'm working on that requires some data. I might actually get Joe in to give me a hand because they love that stuff. All of a sudden, Joe's inspired. And it's only because I had a conversation with them about what their values are and what their dreams are and what they enjoy doing. Get to know your people, build those values and their gifts into what they currently do, and you watch them flourish.
Oh my gosh. It's like so simple. You wish everybody would do it, but it's not.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's actually not hard. And you know what?
um,
Sometimes people have aspirations that don't even involve your job, the job that they do for you.
yeah.
And I've had employees that I've helped start a whole new career while they're working for me, completely outside of what we do. Now, that means I know they're going to leave me. But you know what? In that time between when I help them and they leave, they're the best employee they could be. And then when they leave, I go and hire someone that really wants the job.
Yeah, and they you know can refer their friends to your company, and it just is all around a win-win-win. I think there's so many like follow-up tangents, and I have to just stop myself
No,
and
go,
just
go.
say
I'll stop.
and it and I but I love how you're offering actionable steps that people can take, like building in a half an hour to their schedule, because that's the kind of things that we want to provide on the ripple effect is actionable steps that people can take and implement easily into their day to day. So, Jamie, you have seen the HR landscape through, you know, growing, downsizing, shifting culture. So, where we are today in 2025, what is the most important topic for you in HR?
I'll talk about what I think the elephant in the room is, and it's got to be AI and remote working. They're probably the two relevant topics, I think. Even if HR people are not talking about it, they should be, because there is a lot of pressure for people to stay in a remote environment since COVID, and a lot of people don't want to go back to the office. So in some cases, it makes sense to maintain a remote environment, but that creates all these other issues. You know, the need to have that face-to-face connection, I think, is still important. How you lead people in a virtual environment and a remote environment has changed, and it takes a lot more diligence. It means you have to be really focused as a leader to get one-on-one time and make sure it's not just a phone call, a video call. And if you can go and have a coffee from time to time, you should. So how we lead is actually different in this virtual world. There's an amazing book by Erica Dhawan called Digital Body Language. I think everyone needs to read that book and needs to understand that how we interpret people in this new world is different. You know, the all uppercase writing sends a different message to lowercase writing. And guess what? Now we got to deal with emojis. And so there's this remote virtual world that I still don't think there's enough education for leaders on how to do that well. And then the second part is now we've got AI thrown into the mix, and that really changes everything. So how productive are people really? Are they actually who you're looking at on the video call? Because, you know, I've seen some tech in recent times where you can film yourself and basically it can sit on a video call and people think it's you on the call. So, you know, with this new technology, we have to be savvy in how do we manage this environment, especially if you're in a remote environment too. So, you know, I spoke at a conference a few months ago, and I did a video welcome, and I did it in Filipino, I did it in Italian, and then I did it in English. But it wasn't me, it was AI.
Oh my gosh.
And it was a really cool example to show you, and it looked real. People thought I really spoke Italian. It's a real highlight that we're in this different landscape now. All those people-focused leadership things I did at General Motors are still relevant, but now we've got to mold it into this new world that we're in.
So interesting. And you actually help your current company, if I understand correctly, helps businesses source offshore workers.
Offshore talent. Yep.
So you have to be remote. So tell me more, Jamie, about how do you manage and, you know, create those connections in this virtual world?
So it's not too different to if they came to an office. You still need to be present every day. You need to have those touch points. You need to talk. You need to have face-to-face. And whilst there is power in physical touch, and I talked about the handshake before, and I do believe you need to still find time to do that. For me, you have to have those regular touch points. You need to have regular communication. You need to look at the body language and read people when they're not showing you poor body language, right? Like if they're slouching or they're like this, it's no different to them being in the room. But we have taught ourselves to ignore that because it's a video call. So we've got to treat people the same. And I think this is where offshoring is a powerful tool for any organization to save money, to bring in incredible talent from around the world, which is what I provide. But where companies fail is they treat them like an offshore company and not their own. And the minute you do that, they're not silly. They're actually super intelligent, amazing people who go, oh, they just see me as a third world offshore person. The ones where I see super success are those that bring them in and treat them like their own, have regular calls. And, you know, what I do with my own team, every month we have what we call a Jollibee lunch.
Okay. Oh,
right?
that's the Filipino restaurant, right?
The Filipino KFC.
Okay.
So I'll get everyone, they'll all get extra money in their pay that day. They'll all go, because we're all remote, everyone will buy Jollibee or McDonald's if they don't have one near them. and we have a virtual lunch together. We play games. We have questions to learn about each other. We do just like we would if we were meeting in person. We're doing activities to keep in touch, to get to know people. It's not hard to do, but it takes work and diligence and attention. But you should be doing that face to face anyway.
Yes, it doesn't take care of itself. It needs to be intentional. Gosh, what a wonderful company. Yeah, I'm just curious, what is it like going from an HR director to a CEO? Is there a big difference there? Do you, obviously you still keep your HR director hat on?
Look, I think there's a level of business acumen that you need to have. I've been really fortunate in the evolution of my career. I've been able to play in a few different areas. And prior to this, I worked with a venture capital, and we were involved in mergers and acquisitions. And I got involved with the data and the finance side of that as well. So I've been able to play with a little bit with finance, and I've been able to play with people and sales. And I think the evolution of my career has sort of built me up to be what I need to be as a CEO. So, but it does take a different skill set. I mean, I can't throw myself into the HR space all day, every day, because I've got to run the business. So I now have to be, and I'm still learning this, I have to be a much more strategic. I have to, think about the finances and the bottom line, and how can I deliberately, my HR brain kicking in, pull aside a certain amount of the capital that we earn to put towards people or benefits or marketing. So it's just having a broader business acumen has probably been the biggest adjustment, but I feel like I've been fortunate. I've had opportunities through my career to gain that.
So Jamie, what do you think is the most impactful change an organization can make to foster a healthy culture? I know we talked about, like, at a broad level, treating people like they're people and humans and individuals who have lives outside of work and interests. We also talked about a couple of actionable things they can do. But what would you say is the most impactful change?
I think there's a couple. And first of all, you have to put deliberate action items to build psychological safety.
I love this. I love psychological safety. So let's talk about it.
So we'll start with that. My second one, which we'll come back to, is, understanding what drives people and how do you align that to what they do. But psychological safety is really important. You can't build true psychological safety if you don't know your people. That goes back to point one I made a little while ago. So get to know your people. Second point, create opportunities for them to see the psychological safety in action. So when I run a staff meeting, if I'm doing all the talking, I'm not building psychological safety. I'm just directing traffic. Whereas if I can, and this came out of the Project Aristotle research from Google, if I can get each person in my team to have as much as I can an equal level of talking, they start building confidence that they can speak and say things. It also means bringing into those sessions vulnerability and recognition at the same time. So in my sessions, I will deliberately talk about my challenges for the week and how I got through them. Or if I haven't got through them yet, I'll go, do any of you have any ideas how I can do this? And get them involved in my challenge. And now all of a sudden they see, oh, Jamie's not perfect. He's got some issues. I can help him with that. And all of a sudden I've given them permission to help me. And guess what? When it's their turn to talk about themselves, we're all helping each other. So it's actually really simple to do if you build it into your meeting structure. And recognize, it amazed me how many companies, I used to consult and go to all sorts of company meetings. People don't recognize each other unless it's a process. Build it into your meetings. Build a recognition process. Do a shout out part of your meeting. And you don't have to go around the room and go, well, who are you going to shout out today? And who are you going to is anyone got a shout out today? And guess what? For the first few meetings, no one's going to have a shout out. But the more you do it, it's consistency in leadership. That doing all the simple little things regularly and consistently, you build psychological safety.
I love all of this. This is so great. And actually, this is like something nobody has ever mentioned before is the whole like talk proportional talking time.
So there's a really cool video on the Project Aristotle Google, and it talks through this. But the other point is I think they call it ostentatious listening. And I think as a leader, and this is where psychological safety fails sometimes, we often already think we know what they're going to say and have a solution in our head without actually listening to what they're saying. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Everybody does that for sure.
Right. And the biggest, and I'm going to do this on purpose, the biggest issue is we have this thing. We put it in front of us on our desk and we keep an eye on it. We watch our messages. And actually, it's actually dangerous to psychological safety because all of a sudden, without even saying anything, psychologically, my phone is more important than them.
Mm.
So how do we put the phone away? How do we, when someone speaks, you actually reiterate little moments of what they said? So you're saying, how do we let them understand that we're truly listening, we're bought into what they're saying, and then you're going, you know what, you mentioned that you need help with that. How about I do this for you? Boom.
Oh my gosh. That's so supportive. Telling them what you're hearing them say and then figuring out how you can help. That's amazing.
We're taught this as kids though, but we just don't do it as adults.
Oh, jeez. Oh, you're so multi-talented. Could have been a teacher too. Jamie, so would you go so far as to say that managers should have their team leave their phones at their desk during their meeting?
Look, I know, I work in some environments, especially as a consultant, I work in environments where they just cannot let the phone go. And so in some environments, good luck. But where possible, and I've said this in my call, look, phones away, let's focus. Yes, it's initially people go, oh, because I put the phone away, and there'll be excuses. Oh, but I'm waiting for a call. Again, there's this discipline that you have to build around that, and again, without being harsh or too strong, you can very quickly go, you know what? I know you're on call. I'm just going to ask that whenever we have this scheduled meeting, that we let everyone else know that I'm out of action in that point in time, because I want to give my full focus to you. So it's just letting them feel like it's because of them. Like they're important, and that's why I want their phone away.
I love that spin. I wonder if there's an example of like the power of recognition that you've seen and the power of like gratitude and a thank you culture. Is that something that you incorporated into the
Absolutely.
GM factory?
So there was about 100 things we did, but one of the items we had was we didn't do recognition at all. I mean, we ran a process which was called business plan deployment, where we had our strategy that would cascade through the business. And it was a great, amazing process. Loved it. So we ended up building recognition into that process. So at every level, there was a recognition KPI. So we built it into our strategy and our KPIs. That was the first step. Second step was whenever there was a win, even if it's small, we made sure we recognize. And this was a real challenge in the early days because no one would do it. And we, I'm not necessarily saying this was the right process and people have views on this. We didn't, each team had to nominate their employee of the week and employee of the month. And I know there's differing views on that, but we gave it a go. And I had one leader an executive came into the room one day and said, I've got no one to recognize this week. There was no one really deserving. And it was that moment I had to stand on the morals or the values of the company we had been trying to instill and saying, well, if you can't recognize someone in your team, the problem's not your team, it's you.
How was that taken? That's
it wasn't
amazing.
taken. We didn't like it at first, but here's the point, right? You can't tell me Joe Bloggs, who has turned up to work every single day for the last 20 years, he just does his job, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do anything flashy. He doesn't do anything over and above. But you know what? He turns up every day and does his job.
Right.
That's someone we should recognize. It doesn't have to be the elaborate thing. Recognize the behaviors you want. He turns up to work every day on time and does his job. That's a behavior you want.
That's
So
it. That's it. Yes. Behaviors that you want. Recognize, and it will be repeated.
I truly believe that as a leader, you do have people that deserve to be recognized. And again, it's a reflection on yourself if there isn't. Because either maybe you're not inspiring them or supporting them and so forth, so they can be recognized, do work that's recognizable. One of the actionable items I used to always say to my team is, and this is an automotive principle, we used to use the 5 whys. Whenever there was a problem or a good scenario too, I'd ask 5 whys. Why? 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 Just like your 5-year-old kid. Why? Because it gets to the root cause, right? So you can use that in the recognition sense. Why would I recognize him? Why? Why? Get to the root cause, understand why people should be recognized, and you get a better outcome.
Oh my God, Jamie, I love this. The 5 whys. Yes. I think we're going to incorporate that in Give Rivers, like a season of Give River, the 5 whys season.
It's so simple. And look, from a HR point of view, I'll give you a more negative example, but it's positive. Sometimes we automatically want to discipline people for their poor performance without asking the 5 whys. And time again, I've found in my career, normally we've let the person down, which has resulted in their performance, not the other way around. I don't believe people wake up in the morning and turn off their alarm clock and go, I'm going to be an idiot today. I don't believe that. I believe people wake up going, I've got to put up with that boss again. Or they come to work because of an experience or a behavior or a poor process or something, which creates, and maybe it could even be that they're bored because you've put them in the wrong role and you're not inspiring them. But if you do the 5 whys and get to that, I had one particular guy in a manufacturing plant who was a rat bag or a troublemaker. And everyone said, he's problem, we got to get rid of him. And no one actually stopped and talked to him. And I said, until we understand the whys, I'm not going to do anything with this guy. So guess what? No one would do it. So I went and took this guy, went into the factory floor, took him into the cafe area, bought him a coffee and just talked. And found out this is a super intelligent guy who's doing a mundane job. And part of the reason he's acting up is he's intelligent and he believes he can do more, but no one would listen to him. So a quality role came up, which was a high level role doing more. And he was in my eyes, the perfect guy. And no one said, no, why would you promote him? He's a troublemaker. Guess what? After not many good interviews with the people they wanted to speak to, we gave this guy a go. He turned out to be brilliant.
Oh, awesome.
His behavior changed because someone stopped and listened to him. We got to the 5 whys with him. His performance improved and, in fact, became an amazing person. Because the reasons he was a troublemaker was not his fault necessarily.
Right. He didn't have the, whatever. He didn't speak up and say, hey, I'm really smart and I need another role. He was just like, acting out.
But he did. And guess what? No one listened to him.
Oh. Until Jamie Getgood.
Well, it's not just me. I had an amazing team with me, but I think it's just challenging those principles.
It definitely is. Yes. And you can probably use that with your children as well. There's a reason why everybody's acting out.
I can give you examples of my childhood for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. You're an absolute angel.
Yeah, sometimes.
Jamie, I'd love to go back to the first thing we talked about where you started to teach your managers and leaders soft skills and how to be people leaders or leaders of people. So can you tell me more about maybe what was the most effective thing that you taught them and how did you teach them? Because, with the Give River, we do micro learning. We do, which in today's culture, society, the micro learning is the way that we can stay engaged and create a habit of learning. So I wonder, how did you do this for your people?
So I ran a course, and I think when I the first time I ran this, I think I called it Being Human, because I was trying to deliberately make a point that this is actually about relationships. And forget the word leadership and management for a minute. Let's talk about relationships. And I actually run a course still on relational leadership, because there are some very basic principles that we can teach people. First and foremost, get to know your people. How do you communicate? And it's not just the timing of when you do it and making sure you do it every day, but think about the tone of your voice. And, if you're loud and gruff, people will interpret that and maybe have a negative connotation of your leadership purely because you've got a loud, gruff voice. And having some self-awareness, you can understand that and adjusting your tone. Or maybe you're a boring speaker. So you're running team meetings and no one's engaged. Then, okay, let's help with that. Let's adjust your tone, the speed of your voice, and then when it's important, slow down and get to those very precious moments. And now you've got them on the edge of your seat because you stopped and paused. And then when it's exciting, you speed up again and raise your voice. So these are just little sort of things that we did to help them understand how they speak. How do they enter the room in the morning? Do you shake hands? Do you say hello to people, or do you just go to your desk? It's a simple thing to do, but people don't do it. How many, do you know everyone in your team? Or do you only know the 3 people that report to you? So it's a very large topic. Getting down to how you hold your posture when you're running a meeting makes a difference. If you're slouching, people have less confidence in you. So there's a whole heap of behavioral and relational elements that we sort of went through. We ran it as I think it was a 2-hour session, and I think I did it over a couple of sessions. And then with this particular business in General Motors, I then had regular coaching sessions with each of the executives to sort of, on a regular basis, once a month or every couple of months, I'd sit with them. How's things going? How did you handle that situation? What would you do different? And coach them.
Awesome. Oh, I love it. Because those soft skills are so important and often overlooked. And so I heard you say like self-awareness, and it's about relationships. That's a lot of our work really is about relationships.
Yeah, if you're purely a project manager, you're not really a leader. So being a leader is more than just project managing and just holding people to account and micromanaging on a daily basis. It's getting to know your people. It's how you talk to them and relate to them. It's understanding their values and their gifts and where they want to go. It's how do you then help them see that the role that they play actually makes a difference in the business. So help them understand their why. We had people that were putting headlights on cars and the quality standard was really low, until we are right across our business on all of our standard operating procedures for every job that we did, we added a column called why.
Called why?
Yeah. Because guess what? If you now understand that by me putting on the headlight of a car correctly is actually going to save someone's life, just knowing that why helps you understand that this is actually pretty important that I do this well.
Yeah.
So, but we don't teach the why. And then we don't help people understand that, yes, you may be in payroll and you feel like that your role doesn't make a difference in the company, but you didn't realize that by paying on time and doing payroll really well, people have confidence in their pay. They get food on the table. They bought their son a gift on their birthday, and it was all because you did your job in payroll really well. So again, helping them understand the why helps a payroll person go, actually, I'm important.
Yeah, I might do this small part, but it's actually a huge part. And that is so great. God, you know what? Whoever's listening to this right now, this is it. All you need to do is listen to this one on repeat, and you'll be so good. Your company culture will just
well, if you look at my last name, you'll get good. Sorry.
Exactly.
Bad joke.
Shameless plug. Love it. So I know everybody's going to want to hear more from you and follow your journey. So, and probably take your course on relational leadership. So tell us where they can find you and how people can engage with you.
Absolutely. So, look, I'm an avid LinkedIn user. That's probably the best place to find me. I run an amazing company called People Avenue, and we provide amazing offshore talent. And the principles I'm teaching you, I try and put in my business to make sure that the talent people get from us have those same values and same direction. So, I think that's part of our standout. We have amazing people because we do these principles. But LinkedIn's the best way to find us, and, always happy to help out and talk to people.
Jamie, I wonder if there's anything else of all the things you believe to be true, if there's one last thing you want to leave for the listener.
Look, this is probably something you've heard before, but I have truly, it's been something that I've carried pretty much my whole career. And it's a quote by Angela Mayer, which is, people will forget what you've said, they'll forget what you've done, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And I think if you take that one principle as a leader, that people will remember how you made them feel. They won't remember the words you said and what you did, but they will remember that. And if you try and have a leadership principle of that, you will leave a legacy with people and you will take different actions. And I think that principle alone will make you a better leader.
Awesome. The world is such a better place because you're in it. You really are making things better and good. What a fortunate last name you have, Getgood.
Ah, look, I love it. In fact, I had to deal with a number of unions at General Motors, and they would play with my last name and say, get good, get bad, get lost, get stuffed. There's some other variants I won't share, but I'll stick with get good for now.
Okay. Jamie, thank you so much. I love your sense of humor and all that you're doing.
No worries. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Give River. I have a question for you. How many employees have you lost in the last 24 months? Replacing good people isn't just frustrating, it's expensive. The cost of turnover adds up fast in lost productivity, hiring, and training. But what if you could keep your top talent engaged and enthusiastic for the long haul? Give River helps you do exactly that by rewarding peer recognition and micro-learning on personal and professional growth. Your employees feel valued, supported, and motivated to stay. Because when people love where they work, you see it in the bottom line. Stop the revolving door. Message me, Megan Calhoun, on LinkedIn to see how Give River can help you keep your best people.